Welcome learners. We are continuing on the going to market journey that we started, and I'm reiterating, many of you might remember, but even if you don't, go to market has two dimensions. You have to win the customer's mind, and then you have to win the customer's wallet. Both are important. In so far we have been covering how is it that we win the customer's mind. We've spoken about communication, we've spoken about advertising, we've spoken about messaging, storytelling, and the media channels, including the digital marketing channels that are available to you as an entrepreneur or as a mainstream sales and marketing person to air your story about your own product or startup. Yeah? We are now going to start selling. This is where the rubber hits the road, and this is where money actually exchanges hands. So, like I said at the start of the module, go to market, this is where the customer pulls out money from their wallet and pays the startup for the product or the service or the solution that we are offering. So, it is a very, very integral part. So, what we are going to do is cover this in two lessons. In the first lesson, I am going to first lesson on sales, I will talk about the sales strategies, and in the second lesson, we will talk about the channels that are available to us today, especially in the Indian context. Many channels stay the same across the world, but there are very special channels in India, and therefore, in the next lesson we will talk about the sales and distribution channels. Yeah. So, what all are important for an entrepreneur to cover as far as their thinking on sales strategy is concerned. You will think about your sales strategy, you will put pen to paper, you will write it, you will brainstorm it with your co-founders and your team, but this is so dynamic that it will keep changing, and that is fine. It is just that putting pen to paper is very important, so that you know what are the iterations that you are making and you are able to identify why you are making those changes. You took strategy 1 to market, out of which elements A, B and C worked, but D needed some tweaking. So, you changed it and then you went back with A, B, C and D1, and then you saw what happened. So, that is how business planning or strategy for entrepreneurs is always going to be, till you become a full-fledged company and very structured in your thinking. Entrepreneurs are always ideating and thinking and brainstorming about how to do the best by their customer, and in this case we are talking about the sales strategies. So, let us first identify what are the questions that entrepreneurs need to answer as far as sales strategy is concerned. The first question is, who should sell? Yeah. And the reason to ask this question is because many entrepreneurs that I know personally are people who come from a technology background, they come from a design background, they come from creating the product. So, for them selling is a difficult thought itself. Forget the doing, the selling is a thought itself, which is, do I need to sell? Shouldn't the product sell by itself? I have created such a wonderful product, it is earth shattering, it is an innovation like nobody, no one else has seen, people should be lining up to buy my product. Unfortunately, that is not the reality for most of us. So, we need to go and sell. Entrepreneurs use two other words instead of selling. One is called pitching. So, we are pitching to investors, we are pitching to co-founders, we are pitching to employees, we are pitching to customers. Yeah? And the other word I use often is called enrolling. The word enrolling means bringing someone along. I am enrolling you into my idea. But I will stay with, for today and for the next lesson, I will stay with either pitching or selling. So, first question, who should sell? Should the founders themselves sell? What kind of salespeople should they hire? Are there different kinds of salespeople for different stages in the startup's journey? Should we start with the founders and then hand over to another set and so on? what kind of salespeople to hire, are they different at different times of the startup journey, and how do you sell to a prospect. And a prospect means a prospective customer, a potential customer, a target customer. All these words mean the same thing. So these are fundamental strategy questions that entrepreneurs have to answer about their sales organization. They also need to answer a distribution question, which is what kind of channels, what kind of channel partners, what kind of alliances are needed for the entrepreneur or the startup to go to market in the most effective manner. Everybody cannot do everything themselves. They can, but it may not be the most effective or the most efficient way of doing things. So all companies need business partners, all companies need sales and channel partners. So the sales strategy includes the sales organization, which is who in our company is going to be the face of our company as far as selling to the customer is concerned. And similarly, what are the choices that we are making as far as distribution channels are concerned. These are the fundamental questions that entrepreneurs need to answer to devise their sales strategy. Before we even go into what kinds of salespeople, I wanted to put in context what are the selling skills needed by the salespeople in any organization. And the reason I do it so early is because there are misconceptions. लोग सोचते हैं कि सेल्स पीपल बेचू होते हैं, माने they are constantly selling to whoever they meet. That's not exactly true. People believe that sales people tell stories, बड़ी बड़ी कहानियाँ सुनाते हैं. They try to mesmerize the customer, they try to fool the customer, they try to con the customer, and I'm here to tell you, no, that will not work. At best, it will work one time. You can fool one person once. You can't keep fooling that person again and again and again. So all of you who believe that selling is fast selling, is loose talking and fast selling, and telling a marvelous story without really having the content will not work. So let me first tell you what is a very, very important selling skill, and that's passion. That's persuasion and persistence. Very nice, all words starting with P. Passion agar bechne ke liye, you should be interested. I really want to sell the sales strategy to you. I really want to convince all of you that sales is not about bech ke aa gaye, कि उसको कुछ पकड़ा के आ गए, थमा के आ गए. You know, those are the words that we use in Hindi, that you have made a sale and you have run away from there. No, 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 that doesn't work at all. So I have the passion to sell to all of you who are listening what are the right skills a salesperson needs. So passion, that's the first one. The second is persuasiveness. Matlab, I should know how to convince you. And to be able to convince you, I should know what kind of triggers you come from. And my background for this is probably I have had 3,000 students so far in my entrepreneurship courses. So I have some understanding of what are the things they come with in their mind. What kind of notions do they come with? Everybody has seen one salesperson, maybe unfortunately from the financial industry, or I don't want to blame an industry for it, but they come and do what is called fast sell, hard sell, loose talk, hard sell, and they have ruined the thought of sales for everybody else. So I need to know your triggers, and I told you my triggers are from understanding what my students have been telling me. But the last P is very important. You can have passion, but it can't be passion for a short time. You also need persistence, because sales ek baar mein khatam nahi hota. I mean, unless you are buying some Britannia biscuit or something which costs 10 rupees and 20 rupees and it is a very impulse purchase, then that sales happens very quickly. Imagine you are trying to sell a car, or imagine you are trying to sell a software solution to another company. All these take time, they take effort, and they take building trust. That's very, very important in sales. So passion, persuasiveness, ability to persuade, and persistence. Giving up is not something salespeople can do. Salespeople don't give up. They don't give up. There is an inherent adrenaline, there is an inherent thrill that salespeople have in closing the deal. But we all realize as salespeople that it can't happen one shot, especially on a product which is like a 10 lakh rupee car or a software service to a large company which could be in multiples of crores. So this is one key skill. The second, again, the belief is that salespeople are gifted talkers. They have what is called gift of the gab. They come and talk and somehow they convince you. No. Again, if I have the gift of the gab, I can sell to you one time. This company that I'm selling software to, I'm not selling one time. I want to go back to them again and again. And even assuming I'm selling to them only one time, if my product does not work or if I make a false promise about my product, then they will tell 3 other people. So talking is less important, listening is more important. Think of it in the context of a B2B sale. Any company that is selling to another company. You have to listen to the company that you are selling to understand what their needs are and question them and ask them in discussion, be curious and understand what is it that they really need. And when they come up with objections about our product, about your product, you should be able to answer those questions in the context of what you heard from them in the first place. You first heard from them what their needs were, you first heard from them what their problems were, and now when you are selling your product or solution, you are in a better position to tell them why your product or solution will do well for them. Another, which is communication, and again misconception that communication means talking. No, communication means listening and talking. Both have to happen. A fourth skill is practice. I think I will cover it when I do communication as one of the topics. Communication I cover in the investor pitching section. But let me give you some small tippany here itself, some small comments right at the start, that nobody is a natural. You can't just go stand in front of a crowd and start speaking without context, without understanding what you are talking about, and most importantly, without understanding what they have come to listen to. So you need practice. There are some who are slightly better because they have a natural connect with people, but believe me, most of us, actually all of us need practice. Even that person who has built connect has built it over a period of time. The last and most important skill that salespeople need is to focus on win-win. The opposite of win-win is win-lose. I know that the opposite of win-win can also be lose-lose, but the belief that I can win at your cost, which means that we win but you lose, not going to pan out at all. People don't build relationships when they believe that they can win at the cost of another person. Yeah? So both parties in a sales transaction have to win. The seller has to win, and the solution that they are pitching at the terms that they are pitching, the price, the terms that they are pitching must work for the customer. Otherwise, the customer is not going to buy from them again. And more importantly, the customer will tell at least 10 more people not to buy from that company. So these are the fundamental selling skills that salespeople need. The art of selling, if this were the cover of a book, and you should in your mind think of it like that this is the cover of a book, it says sell the problem and not your solution. So when I talk to you and I'm talking to you learners about how can you become confident about going and selling to a customer or a set of customers, I am appealing to or I am addressing the understanding that many of us are a little introverted, and therefore we feel that going out and selling is a difficult skill for us. Yeah? So the solution I am offering is very simple, which is that you should practice, but I am not even talking about that. Most of the time we will focus on the problem, And when you are physically or in close proximity to your customer, you are able to see them whether on a Zoom call or in person. When you start talking about the problem that the customer faces, you will see them nodding their heads very vigorously. Their heads will start bobbing, their eyes will get wider. They are telling you, yes, 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 that is the problem that I face, please give me a solution for that. So, you have to spend 90% of the time, especially in your first meeting with a customer, talking about the problem the customer faces, and you know this because that is what you did in your customer value proposition stage. You understood the need, you understood the problem, now you are going and pitching the problem back to the customer. The customer says, yes, 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 that is exactly the problem I have, and then you say, our company has come up with a solution to this problem. So, the art of selling, the book tells you sell the problem you solve, not the product or the solution itself. Place it in the context of the problem. 90% of the time, talk and listen to the customer on the problems they are facing, and only the last 10% talk about the features and benefits of the products that you have created. Here is a continuum of the x-axis, the horizontal axis is the effort. The vertical axis is the return, meaning धंधा मिलता है, नहीं मिलता है, long term मिलता है. Are you able to get return for your effort? Are you able to convert that into a sale for today and for the future? This is the selling continuum. At the lowest part of the selling continuum is what is called listing. And my simplest example of listing is, all of us have experienced this. We are at a railway station and there is a person, the train has just stopped, and there is a person with a kettle saying chai garam, chai garam, chai garam, chai garam, chai garam. All that person is doing is listing what they are selling, which is chai garam. I don't even know why they have to say the word garam, which means hot, but it could also say chai, 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 which is the other thing I have heard at railway stations. So, just listing what is it that you are selling. Okay? That is the least effort and the least return. Okay? The next is when you start selling features and benefits. For me, actually the hot tea is a feature. There are people who are more creative at the same railway stations I am talking about, and they will tell you garam chai or samosa, इस मौसम के लिए बेस्ट गरम चाय और समोसा, टाइम पास के लिए बेस्ट चाय और समोसा. So what they are saying is, for this weather, the best thing you can do is have chai and samosa. Or for boredom, because travel can be seen as boredom, long distance travel can be seen as boredom, the best thing to do is take a chai and samosa and relax for the next whatever period of time. So that's benefit or feature selling. Effort a little more, return a little more. From here we go into consultative selling or solution selling. What does this mean? This means that we don't design the product without consulting you. We don't come up with the solution or the product or the service and then come and sell to you. We create it together. It's called co-creation, consultative selling or solution selling. A lot of consultants, the big 5 consultants, do exactly this. They first understand the problem, or they create the thought about the problem in the company's mind. They first define, they spend a lot of time, maybe a few months, in just articulating the problem that the company is facing, and then they come back with the design of a solution. So as you can see, the effort is going up and up and up, and in together with it, the returns are also going up. At the higher end, I am going to just leave all these 3 as a thought with you all, that when companies become really good and their product or solution is the best in class, then you have set the standard. I can explain to you defining the experience very quickly. I am sure we have all bought clothes, we have all bought jewelry, and there are some shops where you feel I don't want to go because those salespeople will come and stand on top of my head and they'll keep trying to sell more to me, so I don't want to go there. Some others let me find my product at my own pace, but they are very knowledgeable. They are not hard selling, but they are around in case I have a doubt. So, those are the experiences of selling that we all value. So, more experience, more effort, more cost, because training salespeople to not close a sale today, but to invest in selling over a period of time is not a very easy thing to do. The effort is higher, but the returns go through the roof. So, at the bottom end, which is just listing, telling people what you have, and at the top end, defining what is the experience that the customer wants to go through while buying the product or service. How do we build a sales organization? The first set of salespeople should be the founders themselves. And why do we say this? We say this because founders know their organization best, founders know their product or solution best, and founders also know what are the problems that they had originally discovered for which they had designed the product. Only founders know this, or founders know this best. And I have heard Professor Raj Jaswant, who is also from the Desai City School of Entrepreneurship, talk about this. He is a serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and he says it is not easy for especially techie founders, but they have to roll up their sleeves and go and meet customers. That is the only way the loop completes. Yeah? The other advice from this very wise person says do not hire very soon, because in the start you will find that a salesperson joins you but is unhappy about the pace, because in the early part of the startup's journey the founder is happy with selling 1 unit or 2 units or 5 units, not trying to sell 100 at one time, because the factory or the technology people or the software engineers cannot handle multiple things at the same time, especially in a small young organization. So, do not hire very soon, because they get bored and they may not be most productive in the early stages. And he says salespeople are also hard to hire, it takes time, but they are easiest to fire. And why do we say they are easiest to fire? Because salespeople themselves come with this thing of, I have to deliver this, otherwise I have to get out. It is an inbuilt psychology. It is not like I will keep staying till they kick me out. No. Salespeople believe this is what I have to deliver, this is my target. If I do not do this, maybe I should find something else to do. And therefore, we believe that founders should be the first salespeople, and they should not hire salespeople very quickly. What are the kinds of salespeople? And Professor Jaswant defined them in 2 ways. One he called gladiators, and we will explain every word that is said here, and the second we call professional salespeople. So, let me first show you gladiators. What we say is they are solo hunters, they do not need a team. They understand the product, they hear the founder, they hear the technology people or the product people or the supply chain people, the marketing people, and they say, okay, I have understood. It is now my job to go and pitch this to an external customer. They go away and they do not check back in saying, okay, I met 3 people, 1 is interested, 2 are not interested. They are like, I will go back to my boss, my manager, the founder, when I have made a deal or when I have closed a sale. So, that is how most salespeople who are gladiators think. They sometimes go and sell to a company something which is not even part of your product specifications, because they are the kind who want to close a sale. So, if the customer says, I know you have A and B, but I also want C, the gladiator is going to say, yeah, we can do that also. So, they are people who believe that I do not want to ask for approval. What if someone says no, I will do this, and then I will say sorry and ask for forgiveness, that also works. So, here is a little picture that tells you the gladiator, he, she is out to conquer, he, she is out to convert a customer, and they are driven by very internal motivations, and they want to close a sale more than they want anything else. Professional salespeople are slightly different, are actually mostly different. They're usually trained at a large organization. Yeah? So they know processes, they know systems, they know how to manage people. They're not solo hunters, they require a team to succeed. They are very good at taking orders from the founders, say, and they're also very good at building relationships with the customers. They are, however, quite expensive. So this is what professional salespeople look like, and you can imagine what they will look like. It's a very relatable kind of picture. So what we say is startups need different types of salespeople at different stages in the journey of a startup. Right at the start, that person with the binoculars is the founder themselves. They are bootstrapped, which means that they have their own money. They have not raised funding from outside, and we will talk about funding in our next module, which is on finance. So when they are bootstrapped, they themselves, they don't want to hire expensive salespeople. They themselves will go and make the first X number of sales. It can be 1, it can be 5, it can be 100, whatever. After they start raising venture capital money, which is the series A, B, C, or at least the series A, that's where they get the money from the venture capitalists and are able to hire gladiator kind of salespeople. And the gladiator kind of salespeople quickly get them some 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 deals that they need. 100 is a large number. For a B2B organization, it will probably be in the single one, between 1 and 5 kind of a number. And gladiators are important because they open the market for an organization. They are able to go and get the first sale, so that it's possible to say in your pitch that we have sold to company A, B and C. Yeah? And at slightly later stages in the venture capital journey, where more money comes into the startup, then professional salespeople join the organization. So the journey of salespeople starts with the founder being the first, then the gladiator comes in, and then the professional salesperson joins. There is one more term in sales which is called hunting and farming. I've been talking of gladiators almost like hunters. What they do is open an account, meaning khata khola hai. So I want to sell to software companies in India. I have a HR management tool. I have an HR tool which software companies with more than 200 employees will find useful. Then the hunter will go and get 5 such companies to buy your software solution. Of course, like I said, they may go and pitch product specs which are not part of your product currently, but they'll go pitch it anyway, and then your engineers will be designing for that also, but so be it, that's how it works. And then you need farmer or a farming mindset kind of salespeople who will go into these accounts, into these companies and grow your business within these companies. So the HR software could have started with only recruitment, for example, but then they will talk about payroll, they'll talk about how do you promote people, how can we build software for all of this, which means that a company which gave you a small business is now giving you larger and larger business. And typically hunter kind of salespeople and farmer kind of salespeople come with very different mindsets, come with I need to close sale, I need to quickly turn this around, versus I am here for the long term, I am more interested in this account than finishing this and moving to the next. So the question for founders, and there is no right answer, can the same person be both a hunter and a farmer? When you have got your customer in, should we have a hunter and multiple farmers managing that account, or should they only be farmers, or should they only be hunters up to a point of time? These are questions that individual companies have to answer for themselves. I'm now going to move from the kind of salespeople into how do you target customers, because that's the next part of the sales strategy, which is who do you sell to, how do you sell to a prospect. And the questions are the same which you have heard in the customer value proposition, which is do you know your segment, do you not just know the buyer, but who is the influencer and who is the user. In a HR software that we are selling to another company, the user could be the HR team, but the buyer is likely to be somebody in the finance department or somebody in the purchase department. And the influencer could be somebody from the CEO's office. The CEO's office typically has one or two people who are called chief of staff or called executive assistants. They are senior people whose role is to help the CEO oversee the entire organization. So, there is an influencer, there is a user, and there is a buyer. And as far as the seller is concerned, they need to know all of these people and build relationships with all these kinds of people. What is the behavior you observe? What is the mindset that drives that behavior? How can you change that mindset? How can my HR software play a critical role for the success of the organization, of that software organization which has 200 employees or more? Yeah? The customer journey. We spoke of the customer journey in the marketing context. I am going to just show you an image, and it just says that typically it starts with awareness. Your software company will become aware of you because of a few things that you do. Then you might get into their consideration set. Then you will acquire them, which means that you will make a sale. Then you will service that account and they will become loyal to you. This is the classical customer journey with any brand or any product that they are consuming. And as you can see, there are multiple touch points at each of these that the sales organization has to be aware of and also to create for. This is the sales funnel. We target customers. I said, HR software organizations, software organizations greater than 200 people. That list in Maharashtra could perhaps be, 200 companies, 300 companies, 400 companies, and therefore you have a list. It is a list of target customers. Okay. From that, you have to do what is called cold calling. I don't know whether cold calling is actually a call, or it can be a mailer, or it can be participating in a conference and passing your card around, or in a conference you become a speaker and talk about the market and then talk about the specific thing that your company does. But that's how we generate leads, by calls, by emails, by participating in conferences, and then you have to nurture the lead. Before we do lead nurturing, there is a word called qualifying a lead. So, I may get, if you go to a conference and you give out 100 cards, you have collected 100 cards, but out of that perhaps 80 are irrelevant. Only 20 are relevant because they actually had a discussion with you and seem to be interested in the HR software solution that we have built. Then you nurture that deal and close the deal, nurture it and farm that account. All of this sounds a little like kheti or farming, but it is. We are farming accounts just as we farm kheti. So, you start with a target list of customers, you generate a list of leads, you qualify that leads into warm leads, hot leads, good prospects, etc. Then you make the sale, then you nurture that lead, and then you farm that account. This is a typical B2B, business to business sales funnel. Taken the same thoughts which I shared with you, only I have given them some names. There are seeds, they are called seeds, they take a long time, but once they convert they are very profitable. The spears are the better quality lead, and the nets are coming from just spraying the net, putting the fishing net wide, and they will need qualifying. So, just diagrammatically there are spears and there are nets and there are seeds. This is another depiction of the funnel. So, you have an unqualified lead. That unqualified lead becomes a qualified lead, meaning we have figured that yes, this person is interested, they seem to have the kind of problem that we can solve for with our product, so they become a prospect. Then you submit a proposal to that prospect. You get shortlisted or qualified by them, because believe me, they are not just talking to us, they are talking to multiple people like us who are developing HR solutions for software companies. Then there is a verbal agreement, and then there is a more formal agreement, and that account becomes a customer. So, this is a sales funnel. The question for entrepreneurs is, Where in your funnel are your challenges? Are you getting a lot of leads? Are you able to qualify the leads? Are you able to send proposals to the number of qualified leads that you are getting? So, where is your funnel struggling? And for that, you need to know the metric for conversion at every stage in the funnel. There are several pieces of software available for this. They are called CRM solutions, and it's for a business that has selling to other companies, B2B as their main business model. It's very, very critical to have a CRM solution to know who are your prospects and how are you progressing for each one of those. Today's selling systems are all digital. So, you start with promotion, which means that you send a mailer out, or you talk to people at a conference, or you hand out some form of digital card at a conference or a digital piece of advertising. Then there is an interaction, which is the next, and each of this, a salesperson, even if they do in person, come back and write the comments after, so that the CEO or the head of sales or even the head of finance know how many leads we have in the funnel right now and how many are likely to convert over what periods of time. But all of this today needs data. They say data is the new oil, and it sure is. So, all of this is possible to do with a CRM solution, which is you promote your product, you interact with your customer, you analyze every one of these interactions, you convert that prospective customer into a customer, and then you build loyalty in that organization. So, all this is today at the click of a button available to CEOs or heads of sales, because none of this is happening in notebooks or in, of course, there are phone calls that happen, there are Zoom meetings that happen, there are in-person meetings that happen, but for each of these, salespeople have been trained to come back and fill in the required documentation so that this data is available at any point of time. So, we spoke about the sales systems and sales strategy. We first spoke about who should be the salespeople. We said founders, and then we said gladiators, and then we said professional salespeople. We also identified what kind of skills that salespeople need: passion, persuasiveness, persistence, targeting on win-win, communication skills, practice. Those were the skills that we defined. We also had one a little graph that showed you that for low effort you will get low return, which is like that listing what is the product you are selling, to the higher end of the spectrum, which is where you do consultative selling or solution selling, where you are co-creating the solution along with your customer. We then went on to understand the sales funnel itself, which starts from a cold customer or a cold unqualified lead, as we call it, into a hot or a warm lead who's called a prospect, and from the prospect we go into them putting you into their consideration set, them giving you the order, and then you farming that account. We also briefly spoke about hunter kind of salespeople and farmer kind of salespeople. There is unfortunately no formula or mathematical equation with which I can tell you that in this situation this is the best. There are some best practices that are available, but most of you, when you become entrepreneurs, you will figure that this is too complex and this is too dynamic and this is too specific to your organization, and therefore we recommend that founders should be the first salespeople for their organization. Thank you, and in the next lesson we will cover the channels of sales and the channels of distribution.